How to kill Candida in 30 days, easily, insanely easy, with this one secret nobody is talking about. I have bought Candida from a lab. I've tested multiple different antifungals on it. I know an essential oil that kills Candida in just one drop. But the problem is, Candida keeps growing back. And I want to show you this one secret nobody is talking about that my students used and that I used when the very strict diets didn't work and the very strict protocols didn't work. Stay and watch. We're starting now. Hi, my name is Mike the Heal Your Gut Guy. I healed myself of Crohn's and I had a lot of bad candida in my gut, and I've helped many other students fix this as well. The first supplement I want to share with you is oregano oil essential oil. And just one drop of this puppy and Candida just does not grow at all. It doesn't grow at all. And other essential oils, it takes, maybe 3, 4, or 5 drops in order to stop Candida from growing. Oregano oil essential oil was the strongest. Just one drop and it just did not grow whatsoever. But even with this powerful tool, people with Candida were still suffering from symptoms. They still had food intolerances, they still had discharge and all that fun stuff. So I want to share this one secret will make it go away. So go down below, guys, and leave a comment. What are you dealing with? What Candida symptoms are you dealing with? I answer everybody's comments, so I'll give you helpful feedback to guide you in the right direction. Also hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell. Otherwise, you won't get recommended my videos, which will change your life. So, in order to defeat Candida, we must know our enemy. We must know what we are dealing with. And when we start to look at the terrain theory, these terrain theory scientists, Béchamp and all the others, they discovered that Candida, whether it's the yeast form or the fungal form, it originated from our own cells. They would be looking at our cells under a microscope, and then all of a sudden a Candida would pop out. And they believed that this was caused by a poor terrain, and that Candida was trying to they didn't really understand what Candida was trying to clean up the terrain. Like, they had it all broken down into the somatid cycle. They would see that your own cells would make the bad bacteria, that they would make the bad yeast and the bad fungi, and they would even make cancer cells. All these so-called bad cells came from our own cells. Why would our own cells create things that would destroy and harm us? It doesn't make sense. And I could not have improved my protocol from a healing perspective, from a probiotic perspective, and from a terrain theory perspective. I was doing all these things perfectly. I had a tool that would kill Candida in just one drop. I had people taking all sorts of probiotics, you name it, soil-based, spore-based, 1 trillion, 3 trillion, multi-billions a day, and they still had symptoms. They still couldn't live life like a normal person. And then I had them doing terrain theory stuff, doing detox protocols, coffee enemas, wearing ETF blockers, all sorts of things, and they still had symptoms. All the while, their friends and family are walking around, touching plastic, eating whatever they want, taking antibiotics like they're candy, not taking probiotics, and they don't have digestive symptoms. They don't have, private part symptoms. They don't have the white tongue. Why is that? Why? Because it's obviously not the terrain. Their terrain is all sorts of butched up. They're showering chlorinated water. They're drinking tap water. I mean, they're just bathing in toxins. It's not the terrain. They're taking antibiotics every single year. They're not taking probiotics with every single meal. Yet we've been doing this for years. why. It's not that. And so German New Medicine is what fills in the gaps here. And this was created, it was discovered, these are just discoveries that a doctor named Dr. Hammer made. He was a brilliant doctor. He invented some very important tools, and that made him financially independent, so he just wasn't a drug dealer with a PhD. So he was curious, and he did research, and he discovered that everybody who had candida in the gut, whether it was in the small intestine, the stomach, or in the large intestine, there would be a ring in their brain CT scans in a very specific location 100% of the time. And if they didn't have candida in that area, it would not be there 100% of the time. And also the shape of the ring would change depending on the activity of the candida. If the ring was sharp, the candida would be there, but it would be like inactive. If the ring was like washed out, the candida would be active, and the person would experience a lot of symptoms. If someone had candida in the vaginal area, in a very specific location of the brain, they would have a ring-shaped formation. And again, the candida wouldn't be active unless the ring had this washed out appearance. He saw this 100% of the time. Guys, he was German and a doctor. Very detailed oriented type of person. The truth is stranger than fiction when you follow the cold hard facts, and we don't make up stuff with statistics. And that's what we're doing in holistic and modern medicine today. We're just making shit up with statistics. And it's ridiculous. And so, where's the other? And in the tongue, if you have candida on the tongue, there's also going to be a ring in a very specific location. And if the candida will be active, it's going to be a washed out ring. So what is going on? What is the candida doing? Because essentially what the holistic and modern medicine community are doing is, imagine you have a house fire. You know, somebody lights your house on fire. The arsonist, the bad guy, lights your house on fire, and he runs away. He disappears. And then some firemen and some contractors show up to the house to put out the fire and start putting the house back together. And then you show up and you go, "Oh, what are you firemen and contractors are burning down my house. You jerks." And you start shooting and killing them and starting a war with them. It's ridiculous. We are blinded by this modern science that we have that is based off of statistics instead of based off of 100% facts. You are blinded by statistics, and I'm saying this because I care about you and I want you to get better, and I was like this too, but you are blinded by statistics if you are going to keep following this perfect diet and think it's going to address your issues when you have your friends, your family, your spouse, your kids, your brothers and sisters, your mom and your dad, they're eating whatever they want and they have zero symptoms. You are blinded by holistic nonsense and statistics. German New Medicine shows us that that these symptoms started with something called a conflict shock, a stressful event that catches us off guard. So my digestive issues I had digestive issues my whole life, but they really got bad in high school and college when I started to get dumped by my girlfriends. You know, on the emotional Richter scale, those things were way up here. Way up here. Oh, my dad took away my Nintendo. Hey, that made me mad. But getting dumped by my girlfriend, that made me really angry. And so what happened is, you know, this stress is a threat to your survival. So your body, to help you survive this threat to your existence, it's going to put an organ into overdrive. If I want to make my arm perform more work and do better, what's it going to do? It's going to develop extra arm muscles. It's more mass. If I can't digest something, I can't absorb something in my life that's hard to digest in my life, what's my gut going to do to help me overcome this obstacle? It's going to develop extra gut cells, and they serve the purpose of producing extra digestive juices and providing more surface area to help you digest and absorb this hard to digest thing in your life. I know that's a radically crazy. Go look at your colonoscopy, go look at your MRI reports, go look at them. You'll see thickening of the intestinal wall, polyps. These are the extra cells, gut cells, that we're trying to help you digest this hard to digest thing in your life. Now, when the conflict gets resolved, when you get back together with your girlfriend, when you find a new girlfriend, or whatever, the body no longer needs these extra gut cells, and it starts to get rid of them with the help of bacteria and fungi. So they are the firemen and the contractors coming in to do repair work. Yes, it's going to cause symptoms. They're peeling flesh off of your body. But this is how your body is designed. It's doing necessary work. And we can take disinfectants and antibiotics. They can save somebody's life if there's a lot of gut cells that need to be removed and the symptoms are too intense and it's just too much work and too much stress for the body. They can save someone by putting the brakes on the work. But the root cause, you can kill Candida all day, but it's the brain that's telling your cells to create Candida. The Candida stops. We can see what phase this program is in. By looking at the CT scans, it would change. Dr. Hammer would see that the ring would change from day to day. On the day of the conflict shock, it was a hard ring, and you're not going to experience many symptoms. There's going to be a ring in your head, in the brainstem. And Candida only grows on the oldest part of the oldest organs, the organs that originate from the brainstem, if we look at this from an embryology perspective. And doesn't it make sense? Like, think about it. Even if you follow the Bible and believe in creation, bacteria and fungi were created first. They are the building blocks of life. We evolved together, and when I say evolved, from a Christianity perspective, it was the first part of God's design, because He made the sea creatures first, and then the land creatures, and then us. So there was His design has a pattern, and the bacteria and fungi are an essential glue that holds us together, or at least does major vital things. We evolved together. We were built together. We coexist together. We cannot live without them. Our brain controls them. So I know this is really hard to digest for some of you. So the story that really gets a lot of my students and myself is there's a lot of studies out there with conjoined twins. They're connected at the hip. They share a bloodstream. They have a separate brain and separate organs, but they share a bloodstream. So from a germ theory perspective, if we're going to believe in that, if one of those twins gets a cold, the other one's going to get a cold. If that's not true 100% of the time, then it's false. And again, it was always false. If one had a cold, the other one didn't. So it wasn't a germ thing. So if we look at it from the terrain theory perspective, then okay, if one of them's sick, then it's going to muddy up the bloodstream of the other person, and then the other person's going to be sick. Never the case. Never the case. You see, there's this whole other system that we're blind to, that we haven't been able to see until just now. The reason why one twin has symptoms and the other one doesn't is because one person experienced stress and has an organ in overdrive, and the other one doesn't. Even these two people who live life side by side, they experience the world very differently. the majority of your symptoms are from organs being in and out of overdrive. And when the candida gets nasty and the symptoms get nasty and you get diagnosed with these crazy diseases, that's a sign that your organs have been in and out of overdrive for way too long. There's a type of stress in your life that is reoccurring. So for the small intestine, if you have candida in the small intestine, that's indigestible anger. If it's in the large intestine, it's an ugly indigestible thing. So for me, I just angry at authority figures, angry at girls breaking up with me. For the large intestine, I've seen some people get it from getting fired by a job, not getting a promotion that they were promised, fumbling the football on the last undefeatable season of the year, like they're at the Super Bowl and they fumble the ball and the other team wins, stuff like that. Seeing one of their parents cheat on their mom or their dad and not knowing oh, who do I tell? What do I do? I can't believe so-and-so did that. They're ugly things. If it's the mouth, it's not wanting to taste something. Notice how all of these conflicts are in relation to the function of the organ. These organs all have a survival purpose. The tongue is to taste things. The gut is to digest and absorb things. And so for the tongue, think about it. It's only natural for people to develop candida on their tongue because they're told to go on this crazy diet and I can't eat my favorite foods, or I got to eat these really disgusting healthy foods I don't want to eat and I don't want it on my tongue. So what the tongue does, and so if someone has candida in their vagina, usually the conflict has a sexual meaning to it. So the way that we get rid of candida in 30 days is, you can use different antifungals to help reduce the symptoms, but ultimately what's going to tell your brain, to get your brain to stop telling, this organ to grow candida, it has a purpose, is to get rid of these extra cells we don't need anymore. And the brain is going to see a need for these extra cells and keep that cell proliferation and cell removal process going forever and ever and ever if the stress isn't fully resolved. We have to fully resolve the stress. And to do that, first you have to identify it, and second, you have to come up with a strategy to fully resolve the stress. And also another big thing is we need to stop blaming food and toxins for our symptoms, because these can easily turn into tracts or their own special programs which can trigger this cell proliferation and cell removal response. So focus on, look into the world, see other people interacting with toxins, eating whatever they want, and having next to no symptoms, and convincing yourself that food is safe. Unfollow the fanatics who have been fanatics for years and they still have lots and lots of symptoms. And it's because they're simply not addressing the root cause of the problem, which is this unresolved, reoccurring stress in your life. If you haven't done so already, go down in the comments and leave a comment. I answer everybody's comment. I want to help get you in the right direction to help you get better as fast as possible. Also hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell so that you can see my videos when they come out. So if you want my 30-day plan for how I help people get better from digestive issues, click right here and you'll get everything you need.